Thank you for your patience, everyone. Now, next up, we have Axel Sirota presenting on Polyglot RAG. And reminder, there'll be a thread in the talks channel for the MLDS XAI for asking questions. Thanks very much. Axel, take it away.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. I want to first thank everyone for showing up. That's awesome. It's a pretty much bigger room than I expected. Secondly, I want to thank Sapai because I came from all the way down from Argentina, so this is really, really cool. And let's start. So actually, this talk is not so much about to show like a project, but more than the project itself. That's actually not pretty much important. It was more like, do you know, like in Toy Story, when you have Buzz Lightyear and they say, "I'm not flying, I'm like falling gracefully." So this is okay. How can we fall gracefully in voice applications, right? It's an actual issue, right? So this is about me. It's not important. We are here to learn. So I study in Buenos Aires. I'm in Argentina. I'm an author. I'm a trainer. Actually, have my company. I train for several companies. If anyone's interested, we can talk later. No problem. But also, I like to do cool stuff, right? So here's where. Oh, well, sorry. This is not my computer. We had compatibility issues, so this may happen. But it's okay. You will forgive me. So, you know, this started, you know, like OpenAI's voice model in ChatGPT, and I have the Plus subscription. So I pay them, and I have like only 1 hour. And I said, why? And I cannot add my own data. So like, for example, if I wanted to use something really, really recent, it was really difficult. I had to say, please do web search, and some tools were not enabled, and they improved over time. But I had to pay the Pro subscription to have like unlimited voice, and I said, why? Like, is it so hard to make this? So I said, let's play. And that's how this agentic solution came to be. It's like, okay, what are they using? They're using LabKit. Oh, it's open source, beautiful. And we can own our own LLM, so why should we pay? And I ended up with a solution that is like 6 cents per minute, so why pay? So my idea is not, hey, let's see this cool thing, but hey, I will share this repo with all the technical things that can happen, and that has happened to me over the past 4 months, and like how to take it to production, and hopefully you can take it as a template of falling gracefully with voice applications in multimodal agentic mode. Getting into agents, well, here it says like on the left, limitations. So also another issue with this OpenAI voice, by the way. I'm sorry if someone is here from OpenAI. Okay, we're good. Then I can make the joke that they are actually closed AI, and this is not an open source conference, but it's okay. So it was only English. Like I'm a native Spanish speaker, right? And my English is not that good. So it wasn't really, really good. It didn't feel good. It was static, and there was very high latency. So I said, how can we make it real time, really good, and make it accessible? Like, for example, I have family in Ukraine, right? I am Ukrainian. And I wanted to help my family, like, hey, let's find some flights and so on. And they were having a lot of issues with this. So how can we support this? And of course, we can integrate any kind of thing, like climate data to show warnings and so on and so forth. So here's a live demo, which later I will share the slides, and you can see it like on your own, but the audio doesn't work. And this is the voice app. So I'm kind of sorry. Like, it's not even my computer. It works, I'm sorry. But here I show you kind of how it works. The overall idea is like you join in, and you connect in this application, and I will tell you a little bit about how this connection works and how all this voice mode works. And here I show you like, hey, it works. Later we will do the live demo. I did the recording because I learned that never to do a live demo, but well, we will try the live demo. What's the worst that can happen? Again, well, apparently we don't have the same fonts, but happens. So how do we build a voice agent application? So for that, we can do many things. But the first thing that I learned is there's this thing called LiveKit. I'm not associated with them, but I thought that their product was really, really awesome. And they create this solution where basically you have 3 components. You have your UI or app, and then you have the server, which holds the concept of a room, right? And then you have your basically your API. And the agent basically is always checking on this room, hey, is anyone like connected there? Will they send me packets? And there's this protocol called WebRTC on how can I send like information from the UI when I speak or any kind of pattern into this agent. Then the agent can decide, hey, I will go and do whatever. But of course, I need a speech-to-text model, and we could use DeepGram, we could use 11 Labs, or I use Whisper because open source. For any LLM, there's, well, here we can expand a lot. You could use OpenAI API if you want to pay them. The tokens are like way less costly than the pro subscription. But don't use the real-time API. I will show later, like it's not very compatible with all of the features of LiveKit. So that was it was a month of like a lot of pain. And then you need to do text-to-speech because you want your agent to speak to you, right? And here you can use Gradio, you can use like any speech-to-text model, right? There are many self-hosted. And here I have like a funny story while I was doing this because I said, hey, I want this to do RAG, so I will have like routes information, like of all the flights in the world. I want to fetch, so I will do function calling. That's all implemented, which later you can check the code, right? And it connects like to materials and to aviation stack and like also search. And we have this issue, right? Which is very, very interesting. Is that, okay, I want this LLM. In the end, it will go all to the LLM that the agent will call, right? Okay, I want to self-host this LLM. And ideally, I want to fine-tune it. And I had these issues. I was talking with AWS people that I had a $2,000 bill because I had like this issue of the LLM not fitting into one GPU, right? So I had to split it, and I had to use deep speed. And I want to fine-tune it, I want to use KB offloading. So it wasn't supported on transformers, so I had to use a fork. So it wasn't supported on Fargate. And it wasn't supported also on the Terraform provider. So the Terraform destroy didn't work. And I had like this metal instance with 4 GPUs running for 3 days, and I got a $2,000 bill. Thanks to AWS that they waived, because I said, hey, this is for SciPy. But be aware that it's kind of like the self-hosting of an LLM split across several multi-GPU architecture. It's kind of an issue, but now it's working. So lesson learned. I have it in the challenges, like if you want to learn like how to do it. I think it's quite cool. And then there's another thing that I learned, that is that like when you have these rooms, there's this problem, right? How do this work, right? So I talk. And there are like 3 different channels in voice applications that I learned. The first one was, okay, we have the voice channel, of course, this is voice, where basically you have all the packets coming and going. And here you have a lot of issues. Packet loss, you have, of course, the ordering issue. And I wanted to show the text as it can, right? Because that's cool. And if you check the voice API, like the voice mode in OpenAI, they don't do it. Now I know why. It's so damn hard. The implementation, the solution is there in the code, but trust me, it's hard. Because you have to do this logic of understanding the ordering, and you're getting all the packets like in different order, because of course, like everything like fails everywhere when you want it to work nicely. And then you have like the second channel called the data channel, where you basically can send like secret messages. And that is very important because there's where you can send sessions. Because what I learned is in voice applications, session management is damn hard. You can have like, of course, a race instance, but you have to ensure that you send through this data channel, like your session, you store it appropriately. But of course, it's WebRTC, so it can fail. That packet can be lost. So how do we gracefully handle that? That's an issue. And then the third channel is the video if you want it. I'm not using it in this app, but you can. So the key point here is use the data channel is really, really good for sending all this state information and how to handle basically all of the failures. Having said that, why it's cool, or why I think it's cool, when I was doing this is, yes, you can do real-time voice, so you can see it later, and you can do the fallback, but more importantly, why pay? Like, that's the main question I was having from the start, right? Why pay if we can do it ourselves, self-host? There are open source LLMs. There are open source speech-to-text, there are open source text-to-speech. LangKit is open source. Like, I only have to pay the ECS, and that's because I'm lazy, the ECS cost, and that's it. Yes, it's not supported in Fargate because of all of the issues I said. Trust me, don't use Fargate, the Terraform won't work, and you have to manually destroy everything. But, like, and it ended up being quite cheap. So it's a very good platform, I believe, to like build nice like applications, ideas, and things like to have fun. Having said that, let's go over some of the challenges. And I listed 25 challenges in the repo. I will later share the repo and with their solution and why the decisions. I just chose 3. So as I'm very lazy, I asked Claude to create an HTML with like the free things because I'm very bad at PowerPoint. So let's try to go over them. So the first one, which is very important, is the issue of the pipeline architecture. And this is something that is not documented, so let me tell you. LangKit did like a breaking change in 1.1. If you ask me, if you do a breaking change, call it 2.0, please, God. Anyway, but it didn't happen. And the real-time API from OpenAI wasn't supported, like wasn't fully compatible, and we didn't have control, like because real-time API like basically did all the steps, the speech-to-text, the text-to-speech, and LLM, then we couldn't monitor, observe it, we couldn't do anything. Otherwise, if you do like, so this, I don't know if you can see the mouse, but this doesn't work. So what you have to basically do is something like this, where you're basically doing steps. First, you do the voice automatic detection. There's a model, it's open source, it's Celeron. And there you can do many things. You can use like the speech-to-text from the Diagram, which is a plugin, and it works. Or here you can wrap it over your own service. And this is very important because then you can start to like add observability and log and start to do evaluation. Like, okay, is it actually doing what I want? And there was a really, really cool talk yesterday. I'm very terrible with names, so I don't remember the names or anyone. I'm terrible with faces too, so I don't remember how the person looks like. I don't know if he's here. But they were talking about this concept of like evaluating and how to monitor costs and like what comes out of a model into a model to understand like if it's working. So on each of these components, you can wrap it over a service. And that's like explained a little bit over in the repo how to do it. And what is the protocol? Because you have to respect certain signatures. And sadly, in voice applications, you have this problem where if you don't respect the signature, then your agent won't join, won't be able to poll the room. So you don't have a log anywhere of what happened. It's not like you have a log saying error cannot join. It just doesn't get the job dispatched. The server doesn't acknowledge the agent existent. So I don't know anywhere what heck happened, right? And that's why you have to be very careful with the signature. That's one of the other issues. Another issue on that point is that now we have several services, right? And I'm going to go fast because I don't have so much time, I'm sorry. And the problem is that each of these services and each of these models have their own interpretation of what's the bit rate that we should use. So some use 44.1, some use 48, some use 24. So you have to resample all the time, and that takes a little latency hit, but trust me, it's really good, like to ensure that everything gets resampled nicely. And otherwise, again, you don't have logs. Like, it just doesn't get recognized, which is the hard part of voice applications, I believe. I believe it's the hardest part I have faced, not having the logs. So great part of this falling gracefully is like, hey, how can I add observability so it's not such a pain to create, maintain, and scale these voice applications? Secondly, it's like I would say the speech fragmentation, as I mentioned, and it's related to problem 3, which is the text-to-audio synchronization. So you have packets of voice, right? And packets of data. And they go in parallel. And you may have 3 issues. First one is that you speak, I want a flight from Miami to New York, and you don't know if it's going to get in one packet or in many. So you have to be sure to order them. Second is that they may get out of order, of course. Third is that the associated data packet may be lost. So what do you do? Basically, you have to replicate the whole synchronization from TCP/IP. So it's like, it's a solved problem, but hey, it's not easy. So again, you can check the repo, but that's basically what you had to do, and do some ordering and gracefully ask again for the packets that were lost. And with that, like, you can grab a nice final solution. So here, this is kind of how it works, and here, like, we are republishing, like, in case that there's a problem, and we have to keep, like, a heap of all of the messages and resubmit to the heap if there's, like, a graceful shutdown of any packet. I have to redispatch it, right? And to show that there's login. So basically, you have to hook everywhere to add your own wrapper, but it works nicely in the end. So those are 3 of the issues, but there are many, many more. Again, I invite you to check the repo. So having said that, let's do a little live demo, because the video didn't work, and I hope this works. So this is the URL. If by any chance this doesn't work, you can go to the URL and test yourself. No worries. So let's see. I'm in a noisy environment, and this configuration is because the voice automatic detection, it can be very sensitive, like what is the user speaking versus someone speaking. Now you're all very, very quiet, but suppose that someone enters to say, hey, and that's it. Like, it breaks everything, right? So you have to handle that, and because that would be an interruption, and then the model stops because it says, oh, you want to send me something else. So let's select the language. Let's say English, because that's everyone, but we can support many, many. And let's test the microphone. Hello? Hello? See, it doesn't work. Beautiful. And we don't have microphones. Hello? Well, it happens. Sorry, not the computer. We didn't know how to connect the microphone. I highly recommend to check later. I share the slides. Check the app. Just for the sake of this, let me access with my phone, and I will put it close to the microphone. Hey, I'm Argentinian. I always find a way around it, you know? So let's connect and let's test. Yes, hello, microphone.
Multilingual flight search assistant.
I want to find a flight from Miami to New York.
Sure. Could you please let me know the date you plan to travel? If you have a specific airline preference or cabin class in mind, let me know as well.
Which date do you want to go to New York? I hear that there's also musicals.
July 11th.
I want to go on July 11th, and I want to travel in economy.
Here are some flights from Miami to New York on July 11th, 2025 in economy class, non-stop flights, airline Spirit Airlines, price
Spirit now.
$44.
And then we can switch languages, for example, to Spanish. And now it switches to Spanish. Hola.
Hola de nuevo. ¿En qué puedo ayudarte hoy con la búsqueda de vuelos?
Well, yeah, anyway, you can check it on your phones, like it has the text and all the things. So it works. Sadly, it doesn't have a filtering for bad airlines, but well, happens. I highly encourage everyone to access and play around. I will have the server running a little bit just for everyone checks. But in the repo, you have all the instructions to set up your own with a simple command. So the idea was to show, again, it's not about the app. It's about all these things about voice applications and the white pay, and let's use open source and own your AI. That's the main goal, right? Own your AI, because if you're not building it and owning it, and you're using an external tool, the interests are the ones of the company, not the ones of the community, and that's very important. This thing of filtering and which airline, basically it's a fine-tuning and own my own model, and I self-host it. And I encourage you to all do it the same. And if you want to know how to do it, you can ask me, and we can go over that. I live for education. That's my job. But apart from that, this is not for self-selling. This is actually like the message I think it's important. Having said that, things to take into consideration. In voice applications, very important. Start very modular. Wrap everything into separate services for observability, monitor, like do aggressive caching. Like there's a ton of things that you can cache, especially because you can have like, I want to, and then a flight from Miami, you lose it, and to New York. So you have to cache these two so you can grab the third one. If you don't cache it, then you lose everything. So you have to have several layers of caching. Designed for failure always. And in voice applications, like the UX is very, very different because you want to have like this real time. And if you want to see the text, you have to be sure that the ordering is nicely and it's like correctly packaged together, all the packets, and you ensure that you don't see like broken messages or out of order because that's kind of, it looks weird, which you don't have in chatbots, right? Chatbots are simpler in that sense. Yeah, 5 minutes, I know. So I will finish. And version your prompts and log everything. That's very, very important. Having said that, let's talk, let's have fun. Like, just remember, test early. Some issues like other sampling. You have to dynamically reload the models because maybe you have like a separate environment, like a new language, or you change to a noise environment. Design for interruptions, and LiveKit is really, really good. I'm not associated with them, but they are open source. I highly recommend them. And open source your learnings, like share with the community. So there's the demo, so you can access, feel free. There's the code in the GitHub. You feel free to submit any pull requests or anything that it's not clear why it was done that way. That's my webpage for the trainings, but that's not very important, and that's my contact. Having said that, thank you so much. This is the QR for the slides. And I'm sorry that the video didn't work and the audio didn't work, and you have to see it from my phone, but works.
Thank you, Axel. I think you win the prize this year for the best attitude in the face of overwhelming technical challenges. So, a reminder, you can ask questions in the thread on Slack. We've got a few here. One is from Ariana. What other applications are you excited about developing?
Oh, that's really awesome. Well, one that I think is really cool that I talked yesterday at the posters, and I think if anyone wants to contribute, they are very welcome. One of the things is like you have people that have impairment to learn. So I thought, how about having a voice application that you could submit as a teacher for a university, for example, all the materials, and then directly you embed it into the model, and therefore you can, like, for example, let's say anatomy, like you're in medicine for some reason, you want torture, and then you want to ask it, like you want to talk to your actual syllables, so you can have like real-time questions so you can study. I think that one is really interesting, for example, for dyslexic people like myself, that's why I think, or daltonic people like myself, or people that otherwise like are more like voice learners or visual learners more than like reading learners. I think that's a really cool application. Another one is in medicine, like because you can integrate, I didn't speak it, but in the voice channel you can send also images. So you could send your X-ray scan, and therefore you can start like integrating several, I don't want to say data channel because data in WebRTC is a specific streaming channel, but several inputs to give you like a proper assessment of your situation. Of course, not medical recommendation, but you know what I mean. Like, I think that's cool.
Thank you. And then we have sort of a follow-up question from Josh here, asking if you think there are specific applications that are sort of especially well suited to having like a vocal interaction mode.
Oh, that's a really good one. Well, probably I'm not the best person to answer that. I'm not the best person to answer on anything, to be honest. Except on what I did for my PhD, but no one is interested in optimizers. So I think for voice, well, probably like anything that is booking, anything that we can think of autonomous agentic, that like you think about support, think about learning, think about, I think, a lot of data, like image processing, I think that you can do it. And the final one that I'm testing right now is like for automatic pull request creation. Like you say, hey, please, I have this bug, can you solve it? And that like, you know how in Codex you do it, but you have to type? Like you can do that with voice, and I think it will be way cooler. And like you get back, hey, I created this pull request, can you review?
Okay,
I
thank
hope
you.
it's a good answer.
Hey, all answers are good answers. All right, let's thank our speaker once again.